Movember, growing mustaches to raise awareness for prostate cancer and other men's health issues. If you'd like to donate, there will be a link in the description. Thank you. The choke. You know how it goes. The game comes down to this one moment. These athletes who have dedicated their lives to honing their craft, all they have to do is execute. Something they can probably do blindfolded at practice without any pressure on them. But then, when the moment comes, something catastrophic happens. And the only explanation is that they choked. I made a video a couple years ago chronicling all of the struggles of my team, the Chicago Fire, over the last decade plus. And it ended up being my longest video to date, a whopping 53 minutes long. To be honest, I could probably make a video just as long chronicling all of the playoff struggles that Redbull New York has faced. It's amazing. The Red Bulls have the longest active playoff streak of any U.S. pro sports team, making the playoffs 15 consecutive seasons. That's also the longest streak in MLS history. And yet, in those 15 years, they never once made MLS Cup. Now, okay, before the streak started, they did make MLS Cup in 2008. But ironically, that year, they were the last seed in the playoffs, not even finishing the year 500. Oh, and by the way, yeah, they lost that game too. But anyways, to me, there is one moment that stands out above the rest. One moment that perfectly sums up the entirety of this team and their history and the luck they've had. 2012. If you were a fan of higher seeds winning in the playoffs, then this was not your year. When you include the wildcard games, in the 8 playoff series before MLS Cup, the lower seed ended up winning 6 of 8 matchups. One was the Galaxy taking out Vancouver in the Western Conference wildcard round, and the other is the subject of today's video. Redbull New York, DC United. Before there was El Trafico, before there was Hell is Real, before the Hudson River Derby, it was New York and DC in the Atlantic Cup. Okay, also the California Classico, but we're not talking about them in this one. 2012 was another chapter in the original MLS rivalry. It was the 4th time these two teams met in the postseason, with DC United winning all 3 previous meetings. Now, this was a weird year because this was back in the 2-leg goal aggregate era of the MLS Cup playoffs. Despite DC United finishing 2nd and 1 point ahead of Red Bull in the standings, it was actually Red Bull who hosted the 2nd leg. Due to the devastating flooding of Hurricane Sandy, the decision was made by Don Garber to switch the ordering of hosts. See, Vancouver, you're not the only ones who lose hosting privileges. Leg 1 in DC was a great back and forth match which saw just about everything. Heroics from Luis Robles, not 1 but 2 own goals. Oof, what a blunder here by Bill Hamid. Andy Nahar completely losing his temper and getting one of the stupidest red cards you can get. The only thing that could have been better for New York was finding a winner. But even still, heading into the 2nd leg at home with a 1-1 draw, not too shabby. It was all going to come down to the return leg on November 7th. Well, actually, the 2nd leg would have been November 7th if New York didn't get hit with a nor'easter snowmageddon that night. And you people really want a winter schedule, huh? Yeah, 2 different weather phenomenons radically changing where and when this series is played. Go figure. Okay, so now the 2nd leg is the next day, November 8th. The only change Red Bull made from the 1st leg was now they were opting to start Kenny Cooper over Sebastian Letou. Cooper, at this point, was having his best season of his career, putting up 18 goals and adding 3 assists. Just a little bit of an upgrade over Letou in 2012. The change looked like it was going to pay off, as the Red Bulls looked much more dangerous in this one early on. But while Luis Robles was the hero in leg 1, Bill Hamid was matching him in leg 2, coming up with multiple massive saves. And then came the 69th minute.
Cahill will keep our eyes on him. McCarthy, Kenny Cooper, flag stays down, Kenny Cooper It's a penalty, and it could be a red card. It's a mixture of despair and anger for the goalkeeper.
Brilliant one-touch passing in the midfield leads to a breakaway, one-on-one, Kenny Cooper v. Bill Hamid, and this is absolutely a penalty and a red card. It is dog-so, clear as day. Sorry, Bill, you have got no argument in this one.
From the spot, right-footed, in, straight down the middle. The New York Red Bulls have the lead, but wait a minute, it's going to be encroachment. Kenny Cooper's going to be forced to retake it.
What?
Okay, here's a soccer lesson for you. Encroachment. It occurs when a player has a foot or more on the penalty area line, including the arc, when the ball is kicked. It's not like this is always called by the refs, but make no mistake, this is a rule. But hey, no worries. All Kenny Cooper has to do is drill it home again. And then
It's still 0-0. Kenny Cooper, once again, saved! Would you believe it?
What?
freaking Joe Willis, the backup, playing the role of hero. And then fast forward a little bit, Rafa Marquez gets a second yellow card. And then fast forward to the 88th minute, Nico De Leon gets behind the back line, pokes it in, and Red Bull New York lose in the most Red Bull New York fashion possible. Now, is it completely fair to pin all of this on Kenny Cooper? No. This is indeed a team choke job. I mean, Cooper definitely didn't help. This second PK was very savable. I mean, he went pretty close to straight down the middle on both attempts, and even did the stutter step on both attempts. I know it's a mind game at this point, taking multiple penalties, like, do you go the same way? Do you want to go a different way? But man, you gotta at least change something up with either where you put it or the approach. You can't just do the exact same thing both times. But you know what? I think head coach Hans Baca deserves a lot of crap here too, because he should have stepped in and had someone else take the second PK. I mean, it's not like they didn't have options. It's not like they didn't have a World Cup champion striker on their roster after all. I mean, I know Kenny Cooper was the designated PK taker this season. I know he scored 3 times from the spot this season, and I know he was having a great game, and you wanted him to have his moment. But I think you gotta make the change here, just to get the keeper to second guess himself on the next kicker. The encroachment. Oh boy, who the hell made this mistake? I'm looking at these 3 guys right here. Who are these 3 bozos? What do you know? Just the 2 highest paid players on the team and Joel and Pear. Yeah, I know. I just said Henry should have taken the second PK, and I do still believe that. But the fact of the matter is, and I'm not letting this one go, he fucked up. This comedy of errors ended the Red Bulls' 2012 season. You want to know how they started the 2013 campaign? By doing the exact same fucking thing. Game 2 at San Jose Earthquakes. This time the Quakes had the late PK. Robles makes the save, but encroachment, and the retake is a goal. In the grand scheme of things, this game didn't mean much. I mean, Red Bull still went on to win the Supporter Shield in 2013, but I just had to bring that up because, I mean, come on. What are the odds of that happening again? This sequence of events in the 2012 Eastern Conference semifinal has convinced me that curses are real, and there is indeed a curse, a black cloud hovering over this team. This is the biggest choke in MLS Cup playoffs history. New York Red Bull fans, I feel your pain.